Well, T wants to know everything about 811. Call before you dig. With us today is Louis Panzer, the Executive Director of North Carolina 811. Good afternoon to you. All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us. You can send your questions in now. All you have to do is text 336-379-5775. All questions are anonymous. So when it comes to calling 811, does it matter how deep a person is digging?
It does not, actually. And in fact, that's one of the reasons that sometimes people think they don't need to call if they think they're only going to a short depth. But the reality is that a lot of things can change the depth of where those lines are, whether it's weather or regrading. So it doesn't make any difference how deep you're planning to dig. You want to make sure to notify 811 in advance.
All right. And if you are having work done at your home, do you need to make the call yourself?
We recommend that if you're going to contract someone to do any kind of work at your house, whether it's a fence or landscaping or any type of work, a deck, any kind of build on, that contractor really should take the responsibility. Now, you can double check to see that they've done that by using our app, which you can get for free at nc811.org. And there's an application on there that will tell you if there's a live ticket, but it's truly the responsibility of the person that's doing the digging. And so if you're contracting and paying someone to do that work, that should be part of their normal procedure, is to notify us 3 full business days in advance and make sure that everybody has come out and fulfilled their responsibilities and marked. That way, if something does get damaged, you're, as the homeowner, are not the one who gets blamed for that.
Do you ever run into anything when folks, maybe a contractor hasn't reached out or checked up or anything of that nature?
Yeah, actually, we've performed some studies to try to understand those damages that occur from no calls. And you might think it's just somebody who doesn't know anything about 811. I think most people are aware that there's a process, but I also think there may be some confusion even on when it's appropriate to call, when it's necessary. You mentioned depth was one of those. Some people may think somebody else was responsible for calling and maybe they were going to do it for them, or that the type of work they were doing did not require it. But we have thousands of damages that occur in the state. Probably if you were to average it out, even 3 or 4 or 5 a day that occur as a result of somebody digging without notification. And as I said, it's rarely because somebody didn't know. They may just have thought they were exempt or that particular work that they were doing did not require it. And
And
yes, we do run into that.
okay, and you answered it in a little bit here in my next question about how much damage occurs each year in North Carolina because people call. If you can elaborate a little more on that.
Yeah, sure. So in North Carolina, it's a requirement that if somebody damages a facility, they have to notify NC 811 and they have to notify the utility operator. So that's statutory requirement. Because of that, we know that probably 16,000 or so damages happen in the state every year. And it fluctuates based on the activity, but roughly about a third of that is attributed to no call or not having a valid ticket. And what that means is that your ticket is good for a period of time. It's good for 15 working days. If you work beyond that period, or you don't wait the 3 full days prior to starting your excavation, you could be working outside the bounds of that valid ticket. So in some cases, they may attribute that or call that a no call damage, even though you did notify. So it's very important to know the process and the steps that are required before you start putting your shovel in the ground.
All right, yeah, excellent advice there. And how can a person make sure just to be safe, especially from keeping yourself from being that statistic?
Absolutely. So the good thing is that this process is free for those excavators, for homeowners. The whole thing is hinged on making a notification to us, and you can do it either again through the app at nc811.org, or you can make that free call to 811. And what's going to happen is someone is going to take your information about the excavation that you're going to perform, exactly where you're going to be, what you're going to be doing, and then they're going to notify those utilities within that, from a ticket, what we call a ticket at that point. And roughly 5 to 6 utilities will respond based on the location. and they'll put paint on the ground. They have 3 full working days to do that, not including weekends or holidays. At the end of that period of time, as the excavator, you want to check and double check what you have on the ticket that we produced for you against those marks on the ground, to make sure that everybody has responded. And if for some reason someone has not responded, you can contact us back for what's called a 3-hour notice, and the utilities are required to respond within 3 hours of that notice. There's a lot of information, including that whole step-by-step process at nc811.org. And we highly encourage people to check that out for sure before they start these fall planning projects.